Hello Comics fam. In today's video, we bring you an absolute body horror from writer Scott Snyder and artist Eric Canetti. This is the origin of absolute poison ivy and the length that Batman had to go through in order to stop her from destroying Gotham. So without further ado, let's rip open that subscribe button and jump into the poisonous horror of absolute ivy. Chapter 1. The origin of absolute poison ivy. The story began with a memory from a girl's childhood. On her 10th birthday, her mother took her on a special trip to Gotham City. They lived far away in Kane County, deep in the woods, and she wasn't used to wearing shoes, making the towering city feel even more unfamiliar. Her mother brought her to the Hart building and guided her to the very top. The height made her dizzy, but her mother held her hand firmly. The little girl asked her mother if the building was named after its shape. Her mother said that the building was named so as it was situated in the heart of the city, where winds and energies from all 5 boroughs met. As they stood together, her mother gently called her Ivy. It was a name given to the girl as she liked to climb the trees behind the hollow of their cabin. Ivy's mother told her that legend said wishes made there had the best chance of taking root and growing strong. Saying this, she picked up a dandelion. Unknown to Ivy at the time, her mother was already sick. Her mother told her to make a wish from the heart. Ivy blew the seeds into the air, and they drifted over Gotham's skyline. Ivy was 23 the next time she came to Gotham, carrying with her a purpose that had already begun to take shape. She had secured a lab and some funding, dedicating herself completely to her research. Day and night blurred together as she worked, often sleeping beside her experiments. Her focus was genetic cytological engineering, splicing human stem cells with plant DNA. Slowly, she saw results. She engineered human cells containing chloroplasts, capable of photosynthesis, cells that could heal, regenerate, and endure. She published her findings, but it wasn't enough. The funding fell short, and time was running out. Her mother's illness weighed on her constantly. A growing mass of cells in her brain was taking over, multiplying uncontrollably. Ivy couldn't ignore the thought that this sickness might be part of something larger, something affecting everyone. She began to see humanity as isolated, disconnected from nature and each other, turning inward while something malignant grew within. She wondered if reconnecting, rejoining life at its most fundamental level, was the answer. Her thoughts sharpened into resolve. She refused to stop at plants. She would go further, combining human cells with all kingdoms of life, pushing beyond what anyone believed possible. Even as others tried to shut her down, she refused to let them. She was too close. Walking alone through the cold city, she thought about her breakthroughs. Cells remade with DNA from plants, animals, fungi, and microorganisms, unified into something new, something capable of healing. But her sponsors only wanted to divide and control her discoveries. Frustrated, she decided she would take her research elsewhere and act on her own, and went back to the Hart building for her research papers. She made up her mind to move that very night, promising her mother she was coming for her. She took her papers and was almost at the door when they locked in. Then she remembered the fire. Flames consumed everything around her. She had been terrified, but more than that, she had been furious, believing it was the end. But it was just the beginning. After the fire, all that remained of Ivy was her heart that somehow survived and got mutated. Doctors told her mother it wasn't alive, but Ivy knew it was. Trapped inside, she felt more alive than ever, sensing strange colors and forces. She hated the glass separating her with her mother and blamed those who pushed her experiments. She believed enemies built walls to divide everything. As her mother left, Ivy sensed the sickness consuming her mother. In desperation, Ivy reached out, and something new began to grow, something beyond pain. Chapter 2. How Absolute Batman Changed Power in Gotham. 7 days ago, Bruce had been to the sewers in search of Waylan. There he had discovered the reptilian skin that Waylan had shed. Bruce knew then that the magical arrowhead from Wonder Woman was working in keeping Waylan's animalistic side at bay. Later, he had gone to the Iceberg Lounge to meet Ozzy. He was warned by Ozzy's men that they would beat him up the next time they saw him. Bruce said that would not stop him from checking up on his friend. All the while, Ozzy kept an eye on him through the door. Then Bruce went to Eddie. Standing outside his door, He asked him riddles, hoping that his friend would answer back. But there was only silence. He met Dr. Tompkins later to check up on Harvey. Dr. Tompkins said that Harvey's head and brain was literally split into two halves, and he had to be under supervision for at least a month. But he had gone missing from the hospital. Bruce came out and joined the crowd as the people cheered for their new hero, Batman. But it all felt different now. Even Batman, as Bruce felt the price of losing his friends heavying in on him. Bruce reminded himself to stay grounded and follow routine as he made his monthly visit to Joe Chill. He waited, knowing Chill might never explain his actions. A guard said Chill refused to come. Bruce insisted, then shouted through the glass, "Face me, Chill. I know you are there. This is what we do." In order to take a breather, Bruce went to visit his mother. But there, he found Gordon and Martha kissing. He immediately walked out of there. He did not understand anymore, whether it was him, or Batman, or Jack Grimm, that brought about these changes in their lives. In his frustration, he broke down a shop that sold Batman props. Meanwhile, Alfred got called off Jack Grimm's case by his superiors. Jack was using all his power to stop his adversaries. As Alfred waited, Harley approached him and told him that she wanted to join Batman's war on crime. That night, an EMT named Dick Grayson, who blamed Batman for Gotham's problems, decided to join Jack Grimm's Robin initiative. As Bruce was breaking down the Batman prop shop, James Gordon stopped him. Bruce thought Gordon wanted to talk about himself and Martha, but Gordon said that he wanted to talk about Batman. He said that Bruce was 6'9" and 400 pounds. It clearly gave it away. And he also pulled Bruce out of a pile of bats. Bruce told Gordon that he started off as Batman to do some good, but he never thought that this responsibility would be this heavy. He said in order to win it, he had to become tougher, meaner, and darker. He asked for Gordon's advice, and Gordon could only say what he had once learned from his daughter Barbara. "A tree grows tallest when you care for its roots," he told Bruce. "You have good roots, my son, and you will make the right choice when the time comes." Chapter 3. Martha Wayne, a Talon in the Court of Owls. Meanwhile, Martha Wayne called someone and said that she wasn't followed. The Absolute Court of Owls answered from the other end, saying that they knew one day she'd come back to them. Outside Lincoln, New Mexico, Martha traveled alone across the desert toward a remote meeting. She tried calling Bruce, unsure if the message would go through, telling him she would be away for a while and had things to handle. She reassured him she loved him and would never change for anyone, but the call abruptly cut off. An armored vehicle suddenly tore across the ground toward her. Armed Talons emerged, surrounding her and repeating the old rhyme about owls. Before she could react, they overpowered her, gagged her, and forced her into the vehicle, which then sped away into the desert. Later, she was brought before the Talons, who cut her communication and reminded her she had broken their rules. Surrounded and threatened at gunpoint, she said she reached out because something serious was happening in Gotham. They accused her of endangering them and questioned her right to act. Martha fired back that she had once been a Talon. She was the best and had earned that right. They told her to blame Batman for what would happen and aimed their weapons, claiming they had hoped she would listen to reason. Martha answered that they were never meant to follow reason, but to fight for something better. She reminded them they had once stood against the powerful, proud and fierce. Even if they had been crushed, she said they shouldn't abandon who they were. She stood her ground, telling them if they were going to do it, they might as well pull the trigger. And they did. Chapter 4. Absolute Batman versus Absolute Poison Ivy. In the present, the scene shifted to a dark interior of the Hart building. A police officer cautiously walked through the space, calling out, "Hello, whoever's up here, this is private property." He began to say, "You need to," but stopped when he heard a strange popping sound. Shining his flashlight, he saw a disturbing growth of organic pods, some containing partially formed figures. "Shocked," he muttered. "What the?" As the light shined on the pod, there was a wet screech, revealing a grotesque humanoid creature inside it. Before he could react, a humanoid plant-like woman appeared behind him and said, "Welcome, officer, to my wish." The officer panicked and shouted in fear, but vines and tendrils wrapped around him and came out of his face and throat. In a few hours, a massive cluster of towering vines had overtaken several buildings, including the Hart building, forming a dense, tree-like structure rising above the city. 2 helicopters circled the area, their searchlights scanning the contaminated zone. One officer, stunned, asked over the comm channel about what they were looking at. Another responded that the situation was serious. Mayor Hill had issued a full biohazard quarantine across a 5-block radius, and their job was now to monitor the perimeter and prevent anyone from entering. They figured that only a madman would try to infiltrate the structure. In the next scene, Batman burst violently through the organic mass below with a loud, ripping roar. His gauntlet chainsaws tore upward through the vegetation, cutting through it with force. He was clad in heavy armor, a breathing tube running from his mask, shielding him from the contamination. He activated his comms and said simply, "I'm in. Talk." Alfred responded over the line, informing him that GCPD intel confirmed the air inside was highly contaminated with an unknown biological agent. He added that 7 of Bullock's best men were already inside ahead of him. Those officers had entered using an augmented-up MUC, a mobile ultrasonic cannon, a powerful military-grade weapon designed to use compressed sound waves to separate living cells. He warned Batman to be careful. Batman observed a group of hazmat-suited officers standing together. Over comms, he told Alfred that he had eyes on them. But Alfred insisted that wasn't possible. There were no human signatures on the floor near them. Alfred repeated, "Whatever you are looking at, they are not human. Not anymore." Suddenly, one of the officers turned his head. Its face split open into a grotesque, multi-eyed, plant-like form. In an instant, the whole group transformed, their bodies mutating into monstrous, organic creatures. The mutant officers attacked. Batman cut through them with his chainsaw. Alfred told him that this was a blend of human and plant DNA. The spores in the air was a recombinant mutagen, so Batman should always keep his mask on. But one of the mutants yanked the mask off of his face. Batman shot a taser and incapacitated the mutant. Alfred screamed, "Your mask." Batman growled back, "I freaking know." Batman covered his face with his cape and assured Alfred that the cape's dense fiber would keep the spores out of his airway. What he faced weren't just human-plant hybrid. It borrowed from other animal kingdom too. Alfred immediately told Batman to abort the mission, but Batman replied that he had to climb up. He said that he had faced something similar while he was locked up in Ark M. He told Alfred to look up a name for him. Isley. 2 mutant dogs attacked. Batman cut through them with his chainsaws. Alfred shouted over the comm that he could see a human signature, when suddenly, a plant-bird hybrid with multiple eyes swooped in on Batman. As Batman struggled, Alfred spoke about Pamela Isley, MDMS PhD. She had died when she was 25, and her obit was written by her mother. Batman threw an incendiary bomb inside the mouth of the creature and detonated it. The mutant bird was burned alive, but a hand struck out from the remains. It was Barbara Gordon. She asked about her team, and Batman sadly replied that they were gone. Barbara was carrying the MUC. She told Batman that they had to work as a team, but Batman swiftly snatched the weapon, attached a portion of his cape onto her, and pushed Barbara down. The cape acted as a parachute and broke Barbara's fall. Alfred told Batman that the spores only got denser as he climbed. Batman looked down and saw what he was standing on. It was a face made of plants and vines. Batman replied, "I am going up. Don't get in my way." Alfred's voice broke over the comm as Batman reached the top, and there she was, standing in front of him, with a mutant creature by her side. Batman called out her name, Dr. Pamela Isley. Ivy replied that she was, a lifetime ago. Alfred shouted over the comm, "Bruce, she isn't human. Get close to her and use the weapon." But Ivy directed her vines to take away the weapon from him. She told Batman it was time to let go. But Batman unleashed a flamethrower and burned everything around him. He focused the flames on Ivy and burned her to a crisp. But right then, multiple copies of Ivy sprouted out of the vines surrounding him, part human, part plant, part everything. Batman revved up his chainsaw and got ready to cut through them. Only then, the real absolute poison ivy appeared behind him, a horrifying mutant goddess made out of every living species that ever existed. She directed her vines to pull Batman closer. As she parted into a grotesque, monstrous form, she whispered, "Welcome, Batman, to your wish." Ivy and her copies attacked Batman while he struggled to get free. Ivy told him to let go, there was no point fighting. Alfred warned Bruce that if the cape came off, then the spores would alter his genetics. Bruce shouted back at Alfred to find him a weakness. He extended the spikes from his cape and impaled the copies of Ivy. He chainsawed through them, smashed their heads together until they blast open, and then reduced them into paste with his spiked boots. Ivy attacked, asking why Batman was fighting her when they were on the same side, while he called out for Pennyworth. She told him Pennyworth was gone, and explained she had evolved beyond limits, using bacteria to disrupt signals and emit powerful frequencies like bird songs and dolphin calls. She transformed, telling Batman that he was already halfway to becoming something greater and urged him to embrace it. She promised to take the soft part away and only endow strength to Batman. The grotesque extension of her head pinned Batman down. He cut it off with his chainsaw and stood up, shouting at Ivy to get out of his head. She shot a handful of mutated plants at Batman and told him that he had the best traits of all animal kingdoms. He was her knight. Together, they could stop what was coming. Batman spit out the spores and stood tall in front of Ivy, but she wrapped him up in vines. As they fought brutally, Ivy connected with Batman. She said that she could feel the pain inside him, how he hurt his friends and family, and himself. She said that Batman blew the seeds of change across the ecosystem of Gotham. That change was noticed by the Horned King at the top, Jack Grimm, the absolute Joker. Joker had noticed her, so he used his minions to lock Ivy up at Arc M, scrambled apart by the supersonic gun. It was there where she first noticed Batman, the man who escaped and evolved. Ivy escaped too after that. She promised Batman that once he changes, she will change all the people of Gotham to become like her, and then fight the Joker. Batman pleaded, "Please don't do this." Barbara Gordon approached Batman cautiously and cut him loose using one of his bat ear knives from his helmet. She told him not to pull that kind of stunt again. A SWAT team was about to burst in with a dozen MUCs, and they needed to get out. But Batman said, "No, she is going to release the spores. We have to destroy them." He snatched the MUC from Barbara and pointed it at Ivy. Ivy turned, angry. She said she thought Batman could be an ally, but she was wrong. She leaped at Batman, and Batman shot the sound gun at her. She screamed out in pain. Batman told Ivy that when they connected, Batman understood that Ivy's speech about evolution was a farce. This was because she herself didn't let go of her one human part, her heart. He told her to destroy the spores, or he would destroy her heart using the gun. She could rebuild it easily, but it would not be the heart that her mother held. As the SWAT team entered, Batman growled, "Ivy does climb, but it also clings. This is the last chance to hold on to that last piece of yourself. Destroy the spores now." Ivy destroyed her spores right away, screaming in pain. She told Batman that he could have been a god, but he decided to stay a worthless human. Batman said, "I was human, but not anymore." He put the MUC to full blast and pulled the trigger. Ivy's heart and body were ripped apart. Barbara directed Batman towards the exit. As the SWAT team surrounded her blasted remains, Ivy screamed, "I will kill you, Batman, you monster." At the exit, Barbara asked Batman why he destroyed Ivy's heart. Frustrated by his brutality, Barbara offered Batman his helmet back, the one through which he contacted her. Batman did not take the helmet back. He just said what Ivy told him. To fight what's coming, he must evolve. So, he took Ivy's advice. And it was time that Barbara took that advice too. Saying this, he jumped from the ledge, while Barbara stood with the helmet in her hand. Epilogue. In the next few days, Ozzy heard someone knocking on his door. He shouted, thinking it was Bruce, but it was just a delivery man. Even Eddie yearned to hear Bruce's voice at his door, asking him riddles. But Bruce wasn't there. Bruce never went to Harvey's office again, even when it closed down. He never met Wayland at the sewers. He stood atop a high-rise, dressed as Batman, with the axe in his hand. He had cut himself off from the living. He only believed in his crusade now. He was no more the man who cared for others. As his mother's last message played over the comm, he stopped it and deleted it. That ends the story of Absolute Poison Ivy. But the horror deepens in the next arc, where Absolute Scarecrow makes his debut. We will bring you the whole story soon. Till then, let us know your thoughts in the comments section and spread the good words about ComixFM. And don't forget to stay tuned and stay absolute.